if you're going to be uncomfortable, pick the discomfort that leads to a greater sense of freedom and autonomy and resilience and all that kind of stuff.
You're listening to the Spiritual Shitshow podcast with Suzanne Sole, episode 37. Hello, all you magnificent motherfuckers, and welcome to the Spiritual Shitshow podcast. I'm your host, Suzanne Sole, comedian, lifelong spiritual student, and I'm sharing some of the deliciousness I've learned along my journey that has helped me, and that I hope helps you too. Welcome back to part 2 of Why Don't These Motherfuckers Respect My Boundaries? With my wonderful pal, guest, and licensed therapist, John Bob Nedderman. We're talking setting healthy boundaries. We're talking learning how to practice healthy boundaries. Let's us just get back into it for part 2 of Why Don't These Motherfuckers Respect My Boundaries? I know, I just like saying it.
The ism is just a symptom of the crap that's going on inside.
Yeah.
The boundary violations, the abuse, the this, that's what we have to deal with. Yeah. You know, you go to a 12-step room and that's just about stopping the behavior, the drinking.
Right.
Or the drugging.
Right. Because the drug or the drink was the solution to
air quotes.
The attempt at a solution.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's just like take that solution out of the way, and now, you know, you have to go to therapy.
And I think that's too why you see such high rates of relapse happening in the programs, especially when you get to the 5th step and you're writing down all of that history and drudging all that stuff up that has nothing. I mean, 4th and 5th step, because you got to tell somebody about it too.
Yeah.
So it's no longer in secret.
Yeah.
You know, it's one thing to write it out and then I got to share it.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest part.
Yeah.
Is let somebody in on all of those dark places and secrets. And I think it is.
I found it very freeing. I mean, I did like my 4th step. I like, honestly, I stalled it for a year.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do it.
Of course.
And then, you know, what's my part? Wait, but my, what? I don't want to.
Yeah. That's, yes. I think that gets a little awry sometimes in the 12-step room. What's my part of being sexually abused by my uncle?
Right. Yeah, I know. It can get a little bit.
I didn't have a part in that.
Yeah. I mean, it can get, I think I agree with you.
But, yeah.
That there is definitely a benefit of it, but it can sometimes get a little self-incriminating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's the 4th and 5th step. One of the probably, you're right. I think the 4th step where people go out.
Yeah.
Because it's painful.
It's so hard.
And they don't have their numbing out, their drink or drug of choice to numb out to it.
Yeah.
And so it's a really fine balance between sobering up and allowing the stuff to rise up, to be healed or forgiven or dealt with in some way.
Yeah.
You know.
I want to circle back to what you said, which I think is so poignant, and I think where so many of us, and I'll include myself, get stuck. And that is, there has to be consequences when someone crosses your boundary. And what are some examples of like healthy, consequences?
Good point. Good question and good point. Healthy consequences.
Right.
Because sometimes we go in the direction of, I've been violated, and so we become passive aggressive.
Exactly. Correct.
And that's not
Yeah.
Somebody keeps getting into your phone and looking at your private text messages or something like that. Hey, can I use your phone? Yeah, for something. Yeah, and then you find out they're scrolling through. It's like the consequences when they say, can I use your phone? No.
Right.
No.
And then if they say
you no longer have access to any of my iPads or iPhones or anything like that. No.
Because you looked through my personal stuff.
Yeah.
And that made me feel uncomfortable.
Violated that boundary.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily a boundary that even had to be announced. It's just standard procedure. But when it's violated, no, you no longer have access to to those things.
May I
That's an
ask-
example. Yeah.
Yeah. May I ask, do you think that sometimes like people lack boundaries, especially respecting other people's boundaries because we've lost the ability to trust each other?
Violating a boundary is essentially a violation of trust.
Right. So I'm saying like if someone was to say I don't want you to look in at this my journal, and they're in a marriage, and the the spouse is like, it's my spouse, I should be able to look at whatever they write. But I don't know. I mean, it seems like
Well,
you're your own
maybe-
person. You should be able to have your own journal.
That could be true. That
Yeah.
would be dependent upon what the agreements are between you and your spouse.
Right.
If you all, here's the thing. You got to have agreements too.
Right. Right.
Nowadays, if you go on the apps, everybody's open and polyamorous, and I might still be, I'm 65, I'm a Medicare recipient.
Did you hear that? He's on
Plan
He's
N.
on Plan N, everyone. He chose Plan N.
And everybody's
Yeah.
on open relationship and whatnot, and that's fine. However, there really needs to be, I can't tell you all the couples that come to me with all these problems because they're open, but they don't really have their agreements
Right.
clarified and well defined.
Right.
It's like I can have sexual relations outside the primary relationship. Well, okay. Does that mean I can have sex with my neighbor, with your brother, with your mother, or with your best friend?
Right.
It's like, generally speaking, most people would say no. You
Right.
can have sex with somebody over on Grinder that I don't know.
Right.
But what are the I mean, I guess if they say yes, okay.
Right.
But you got to be clear about that. And
Hey, that's a good one.
And yeah. So what are the agreements? And then when the agreements are violated, which is essentially a boundary is an agreement.
Right.
When it's violated, there has to be a consequence. Now we're getting into probably a bigger consequence because the degree of violation is also bigger. When somebody's been unfaithful or
Unfaithful is
infidelity,
different. Yeah.
Okay, it's over. Some people, that is the consequence.
Right.
Some people, okay, it's not over. We're going to work through that. But for now, we're sleeping in separate bedrooms.
Right.
A consequence.
Right. Right. So say you're dealing with someone with a more minor style, like someone you're saying, will you come here with me? And the person says, I'm really tired and I can't come tonight, rain check next time. Oh, come on. Once you get out, you'll feel, blah, blah, blah. Honestly, I'm not feeling well. I want to go to bed. How do we deal with that person who does not respect the first no? Because I have people like that in my life.
Yeah.
And I've probably been that person before, but not, I don't think I am anymore. But anyway.
Yes, that's where we'll have to build that distress tolerance and that practice, and that's where, in that kind of an instance, that's where I say you just say no and you go on about your business.
Okay, wait. So let me just say, because this is a really powerful part. Your distress, so now you have said no to someone close to you in your life that they're going to be bothered by that, and they're to whatever degree, whether they're they're going to they're going to shit talk you to the rest of the friends or family. They're going to be angry at you. They're going to be passive aggressive, silent treatment, all the things you're going to have to deal with now. And of course your nervous system is now in overdrive.
Activated.
So what you're saying, which is I think is incredibly powerful, and I've not actually heard anyone ever say this before, is that's what we have to get used to being with.
Yes, it is. That's right. We have to get used to them being upset and hold our ground.
And us being on fire.
Yeah, because you're going to have your own
Right.
own set of discomfort with it.
Yeah.
Because it's unfamiliar. Here's
Right.
the thing.
Yeah.
To relent and not hold your boundary is really uncomfortable because I'm doing something that I didn't want to do in the first place. And now I'm kind of resentful, blah, 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 blah. Or to hold and that's uncomfortable, right? Or to hold our ground and let them be all that. That's also uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah,
I mean,
both are uncomfortable. So
Right.
my strategy is, if you're going to be uncomfortable, pick the discomfort that leads to a greater sense of freedom and autonomy
Wow.
and resilience and all that kind of stuff. And eventually, that will become familiar and less comfortable and less uncomfortable.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I don't hope you understand, like, you are just, this is a mic drop. This is such a truth bomb that hearing it in this way feels like it's something you can put your head around. Okay, yes, I feel like a 4-alarm fire when I say no, and then the person doesn't respect my boundary, and then I hold my boundary, and I know that that person is going to do whatever they do when they don't like having a boundary put up. And I not only have to deal with, what they're the fear, the worry about what they're going to do, but what's going on in here. And I just have to get better at being okay.
That's
with
right.
what's going on in here.
Let's make that more familiar. The relenting is also, it's very familiar. It's what you and I have done all along, all the time. And we're, and we don't have a voice. It's all very connected to our voice and saying yes or no. But it's familiar.
Yes.
And even in its discomfort and dysfunction, it's familiar, and we choose the familiar.
Yeah, because, the first thing I think a lot of us who aren't seeing it in this way that you're sharing, it's like, how do I avoid this really, really uncomfortable situation that I'm going to have to deal with? That's what I'm saying. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. That's what I love what you're saying, because it's not that. And I think that's where we get trapped.
Yeah.
Is when we go, how am I going to deal with this? This person is not going to like it. They're going to give me shit. I don't know how to deal with that. Should I be trying to avoid that? And you're saying, no, you should not be trying to avoid that. You should be trying to get more comfortable with it. And my mind has been blown.
Yeah. There's two uncomfortable choices.
Right.
Choose wisely.
Right. One leads to your freedom and your well-being.
Keeps you stuck.
And one it keeps, even though the person who thinks, I'm making peace, I'm not rocking the boat, but you're not helping them either.
No. Choose the new discomfort until it becomes familiar. And when it becomes familiar,
wow,
your internal world is going to be fine. They're still going to be flipping out all over the place, possibly. Maybe not. As you maintain your ground and practice, eventually they'll get the message. It's like,
I'm seriously.
And now all is well.
I'm like, seriously, I have just been illuminated by the way you described this, because I've never thought of it that way. And I've only ever thought of it like, oh my gosh, there's so much duress, and it's so much this person, and they're mad at me, and oh my God, and I'm a 911, and it's just like, yes.
Yeah. Well,
I never thought of being comfortable with that being the answer.
First of all, they're mad at me. We need to normalize anger.
Right.
Anger is a part of human emotion, the human experience.
Yes. And it doesn't mean a person doesn't love you just because they're...
That's right.
Right.
They're just angry.
Right.
And in fact, anger gets things done.
Yes.
Often.
Yes. Right.
Right?
Yeah. You get expressed.
So it's okay. Be angry.
Yeah.
I remember years ago, a friend of mine, I don't remember what it was, but needed me to do something. And I said, I don't know yet. I'm not sure. I need to kind of find out what's happening this weekend. Mm-hmm. And my friend was like, yeah, but I need to know now. I said, well, I don't know now. And he kept pressing me. I need to know now. I said, well, then if you need to know now, then the answer is no.
Right.
He was so pissed.
That's not where I was trying to get you. I was trying to get you to a yes.
That's a boundary.
Right. Right.
That's a consequence to your just not even respecting my request to let me look at my schedule and see what's going on.
I mean, I don't, not to beat a dead horse, but I'm going to. I'm just thinking, here's me thinking about, we're going to talk about strategies of how to deal with it. And it's like, there aren't any. It's you just be okay with the crazy experience. Saying no to someone.
Well, you don't have any control over their response.
You have no control over them, and yes, you're gonna feel really nervous. Your nervous system's gonna go out. You're gonna have whatever worry, fear, and it's like there's nothing to there's no strategies you need to do. You just need to learn to sit with that. I mean, I'm telling you.
Well, there's that whole Rumi quote that I love, that the answer to the pain is in the pain. And so you just got to sit with it and be with whatever it is. In this case, it may not be pain, but discomfort.
Wow.
Maybe your own anger and irritation that, they're pressing you. Okay. That's yours to work through.
Wow. I'm blown away.
And it's theirs to work through. You don't have to work through their anger, their disappointment, their disillusionment.
You have to work through your reaction to their anger.
Yes.
And and feeling and the fear you might feel and the peril.
Eventually, man, it's a great feeling. Eventually, you won't have the reaction to their feeling, and that's when, man, that feels really powerful.
I bet. That's what I'm saying. Like I can feel into that idea. I mean, like I said, as we grow, there are empowering things that I've experienced, but this right here, I can see how empowering and how that would grow you so much.
Yeah. And it goes back to what you say yes to and what you say no to.
Right. Yeah.
And people have feelings. Everybody has feelings about everything.
Right. And they can.
And it's okay.
And you can say,
feel away.
Yeah. And you can say, you have your feelings. And I'm responsible for Suzanne. And if I don't take care of her, then no one will, because you're responsible for you. So if I'm taking care of you and you're taking care of you, who's taking care of me? What are some clues or some experiences that you may have in your life if your boundaries are not the best? What might you what kind of feelings or daily, things might you run into all the time that you're like, that's a clue that you need to consider your boundaries and think about, are you holding your boundaries?
Codependency is a real clue of I don't have any boundaries. Enabling, I don't have any boundaries. My partner's an alcoholic and I'm not an alcoholic, and my partner wants his vodka and I say, no, please, 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 and I say no, and then I go ahead and, all right, because I relent, I don't keep the boundary, and then I get in the money for his vodka, and so now I have enabled his drinking. I have co-signed the bullshit, and I'm just as much part of the problem.
Right.
Codependency, that's the same.
Right. So
codependent. So that means there's two things going on, two people here. One, the addict, the whatever, and then the codependent, meaning I'm dependent on this connection.
Right.
And one of the other questions you asked about was attachment styles. I think some of that codependency and this enabling and this relenting into the constant pushing of our boundary can come out of a dependent or avoidant or let's just say an unhealthy attachment style.
Right.
Attachment says, when we're a kid, that's when it all starts. We look back at mommy while we're playing, and mommy gives us a smile and they're still there, and we know, okay, we're okay.
Right.
We look back and while we're playing and mommy's not there, then it's like, uh-oh, I'm not okay.
Where'd she go?
Or something. And so we take that attachment style and unleash it on the world around us.
What I think I hear you saying about how we know when we have we could use to work on our boundaries aren't in good shape, is that we find ourselves living life in the way other people want, doing what other people want us to do all the time.
Sure.
Well, so I don't want to go to the store and buy alcohol for my alcoholic, in the scenario you gave, but I'm doing it anyway because
they don't like that they're upset with us. Or then it taps into our fears of abandonment,
Right.
or all kinds of, it taps into our own trauma. Right. Chances are, if I've hooked up with somebody who's an alcoholic, who probably has trauma in their background, right? If I've hooked up with somebody like that, or the person A has hooked up with somebody like that, person A probably has their own set of trauma.
Right. So are there possible states of mind or frustrations that someone might have in their life that would be like a clue to, you could feel frustrated about this, or you could be dealing with this feeling about yourself, whatever it is, because...
Oh, well, I would say probably if you've got all this ruminating thoughts of, talking, it's like, how many times do I have to tell him to load the dishwasher like this? It's like, I have asked him time and time again to pick up the socks. Just pick up after yourself. You're a grown-ass man, and,
And you're having this conversation in your head.
In my head.
Uh-oh.
I'm sure you've had your own conversations about somebody.
All kinds of stuff.
Me.
No,
from time to time.
Never, Casey. So never, my darling. So this is really powerful because, so say I'm doing that. And so what is that saying? If I'm having, does it mean that I want to say something to the person, or they have violated
it could say a number of things, but probably you're not exercising your voice out loud.
Which is holding a boundary.
You're saying it inside, and we don't exercise our voice. It's just practice. And sometimes, and again, the practice is that just like relapse, we just start over again. And as much as I can talk about this stuff, putting it into practice, I struggle with it just as much as any of my clients.
Of course, yeah.
Because especially if they're so unrelenting, it can be exhausting.
Yeah. I just want to, the ruminating really caught me, because I think that is so spot on that...
Anxiety also.
Anxiety is a good clue that yeah. I mean, obviously anxiety and rumination all have many reasons, but if the clues that would tell me that I really need to rethink holding my boundaries with others, I think those are two strong pieces. Yeah.
It's not for the faint of heart. That's why the therapeutic process, by and large, most people don't engage.
Right.
By and large, most people don't go into a 12-step room and get sober.
I want to say one thing too, and that is, for people who struggle with boundaries, and I have been that person, I think that many of us don't even realize that we have, like you said, the right to the boundary. And so I think that, it's so insidious.
It is.
That, I could, look at a couple of scenarios in my life where I'm like, I think that I have been letting this person disrespect my boundaries.
There might be another clue that I'm having trouble with boundaries. Control.
You have to control.
I have to control.
And so because I am so controlling, I probably have a problem with boundaries.
Or, or voicing boundaries or something. I keep everything so tight and knit and controlled because when I don't, then I feel out of control and I don't know how to voice it.
Yeah.
That could be another indication. It's certainly an indication that something is amiss.
Right. And to start investigating that, and it might be boundaries. So what are some practices people can just do on their own to start to reflect on their boundaries or practice boundaries? What are just some easy things they can do by themselves? Not by themselves. Obviously, you got to take it out in the world, but where can you can start with you?
It's a good question. I know one exercise I do with my clients sometimes is we're going to do the yes/no exercise. And here's your homework, Suzanne.
Okay.
This week, the only time you get to say yes to something
Yes.
is if it's like, oh my God, that sounds like so much fun. I can't wait.
Okay.
That's the only time you get to say yes.
Right.
If it's anything less than that, like, I should do this. Or
Right.
it'd be the right thing. I need to do this. I suppose they have given no other options. Something like that. Then it's a no.
Wow.
It's a no. This is a practice. This
I love
isn't
it.
meant, it's not a hard and fast rule because
Right.
obviously, mom doesn't want to change a dirty, stupid, stinking diaper. It's like, but
I don't feel like it.
yeah, I don't feel like it. It's a boundary of mine. Sorry, I don't do that. So, but here's the harder part of that is so saying yes and no, distinguishing, right? You said no because it's not a full-bodied yes. We've heard that
Right.
phrase.
Love that.
The other caveat is that when you do say no, you don't get to explain it.
Whoa.
Because who is the explanation for?
The other person. And your fear.
Yeah, right. And I don't owe you an explanation as to why I don't want to take a hot bath tonight.
Right. And what if we all learned to appreciate when the other person just needs to take care of themselves?
Well,
and we
this
didn't
goes
take
back-
it. Yeah.
Hashtag me too, right?
Right.
No means no.
Right. Yeah. And what if we didn't take that as an affront? What if, I really wanted to, I was, had this idea for us to do this, but you're really wanting to have some quiet time and read a book. And I don't take that as some kind of hostile, thing at
rejection,
me.
something.
And
Yeah.
I say, I appreciate and respect my partner or my friend or whatever it
Yeah.
is, ability to choose what
At
is
the
right for that person.
Very least, if you did offer some kind, no, I'm reading a book tonight instead of
Yeah.
going to the movies with the gang.
Right.
Okay. Oh, come on. No, I'm reading a book.
Right.
Here's what you definitely don't want to say. No apology. Oh, I'm sorry. No, I'm reading a
Yes.
book. No, I'm not sorry.
Oh, that's yes. Because you can
And we
feel
just-
your energy falling.
Oh, yeah. And we just trained the world to just be apologetic for having a boundary.
I mean,
Oh, ugh. So, in the spirit of the assignment, no explanation. So, hey, you want to go to the movies tonight? Or, hey, are you available to help me move this weekend? I'm buying pizza and beer for everybody. It's like, no, I'm not.
curtain. little.
Yeah. And you could work on your tone.
Right.
The tone is, we can have an apologetic tone.
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
Right.
Oh, come on. But no, I'm not. It kind of
No, I'm not.
communicates a whole nother, no, I'm
Yeah,
not.
I'm not.
Oh, okay. And they may go, oh, that was abrupt.
Yeah. Oh, come on. No.
I fucking said no.
I
bitch.
fucking said no, you motherfucker. Oh my God, this has been such an amazing conversation. And I'm honestly blown away
Wow, thanks.
by that.
Glad you could come out of there.
Yes, truly.
It
And I
all
know,
goes hand in hand. The boundaries, saying yes or saying yes when you really mean no, being apologetic for having your boundaries,
Right.
self-esteem, not feeling you're worthy of or deserving of having boundaries. It's
Right.
all one ball of wax.
yeah. And I'm sure that everyone who listens to this is really going to get, you know, that light bulb moment as well. I'm truly, because I don't think we hear this often enough of, yes, saying no is going to be uncomfortable. And the purpose is not to run away from that or strategize or try to maneuver the pieces on the chessboard. The point is to get okay with that. And I mean,
Yeah.
huge,
There's
huge.
probably some other areas I don't know, but I can't think of one. I just know you just got to keep saying no.
I mean,
It's just like the drink. It's like pick up or don't pick up.
Yeah, it just honestly, you know what? It's like when you hear the truth, it just, you know, you've heard a truth.
Yeah.
And when you said that, I knew it was correct. I was like, that is exactly the way to learn to be more comfortable about holding your boundaries and respecting your own healthy boundaries is to get comfortable with the uncomfortability.
Anything we want to do well takes practice, whether you're playing the piano or setting a boundary.
Yeah. Yeah. Tom Bob Nedderman, this has been such an amazing conversation. And we are also lucky and blessed and just so wonderful to be able to chit chat with you and everyone to hear your wisdom, because you have really worked hard to gain all the wisdom that you have.
Yeah.
Girl! Girl!
I come by it all honestly, I'll tell you that.
Tom Bob Nedderman, thank you so fucking much for sharing your wisdom and insight and professional licensed therapy with everybody and with me.
And you are so fucking welcome.
I love you so much. Thank you.
What a great conversation with my amazing friend, Tom Bob Nedderman. Huge thanks to Tom Bob for sharing his incred wisdom. I think we never stop learning, we never stop growing, and we can help each other do it. And through it. Thank you so much for joining me. This has been the Spiritual Shitshow podcast. My name is Suzanne Sole, and I'm just going to be over here practicing sitting with people's reactions to my taking care of myself and do a lot of breathing. Anywho, I will see you on the next one. Roll it now.